Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Udi. So simply, I'm going to talk today about growth hacking. And before I start, I'd like to ask you the following question. What if I told you that by spending only 1 hour per week, I managed to increase our company's conversion rate by 30%? You'd probably laugh because you're spending lots of time, effort trying to increase your conversion. Hopefully, some of you are successful with it, but many others are managing to increase the amount of leads that you acquire, the conversion rate on your campaigns, but not that dramatically. And that's exactly what I've been doing for the past 6 years. At the moment, as Udi said, with Commerce Sciences, a web personalization company specializes in the e-commerce section, but not only. And I'm also mentoring at the Zelle program at the IDC, as well as the Recanati Business School. A few things that I'd really like you to take out of my session today. First, clarification of what growth hacking is. Then, how to apply growth hacking to B2B sales, basically how to apply it into your processes. Then we'll explore some proven techniques that actually worked for us, but I will encourage you to take some inspiration out of it to try whatever could work for you. And then I'm going to also share with you some great tools that could simply help you to get things started without involvement of your IT teams or big budgets, etc. So what growth hacking is it a buzzword or a really new era of marketing? It's simply both. Growth hacking was introduced by Sean Ellis, the founder of Qualaroo, a few years ago. And the differences between the various hackers' terminology as you know it is very simple. So some people would refer to IT guys or to engineers as hackers. Some other will refer hackers as people that are stealing databases or just penetrating into databases without any authority. And there's also the third type, which we're talking about today, and that's the reference as a hacker for smart people. And not saying anything about myself, but the idea about growth hacking is simply to run continuous experimentation of your marketing activities. And some of you have done that, and some of you may be spending lots of budget and you blame it on branding. But seriously, in order to really make change and improve your conversions, you always need to test. Because otherwise, there is no other way to make any progress and to learn anything new. And the idea about experimentation is also to build funnels in which would help you to measure the effectiveness and also the problems in each stage of the funnel. The continuous experimentation methodology talks about the process of first come up with ideas. Initially, it would be your hunch, but then you'll build something, you'll launch it, you'll get some data so that you could measure the success, you'll learn out of it, and then the next time that you run the experiment, you'll simply have data-driven ideas that you could implement. Originally, the growth hacking concept started mainly in B2C companies. The most famous story, I think, could be about Airbnb. Two guys sat in a room in San Francisco, and they wanted to build a company, but they had no idea what they really want to build. And after a few months, or I don't know, even a year, that they spent at their house, and they started to think, okay, how are we going to pay the next month's bills? And they decided to rent their apartment, or actually to rent a room in their apartment. And today we all know what came out of their small idea, but the main thing that attributed to their success is their implementation. And if you think about yourself, even if you're working for a big brand and you have lots of budget, eventually all of our resources are limited. And you should also think, how can I spend the minimum amount of budget to get the maximum exposure, leads, sales, whatever KPI is important for you. And that's exactly what these guys did. So they built an integration with Craigslist without, obviously, any permission from Craigslist. So whatever they got, people want to rent their apartment, they would immediately push that ad into Craigslist, which was already a marketplace or sort of a board that got a lot of traffic. And that way they managed to get a lot of traffic and close sales on their site. If you'll try it yourself today, you won't be successful because Craigslist already know about it and they blocked it. But that's what helped Airbnb to become what it is today, to raise tons of money and to grow. The next example that I believe that most of you are familiar with is the Dropbox example, as well as the WhatsApp and Uber, which they created user-get-user sort of acquisition, or as you know, it's viral marketing, meaning that whoever signed up for the product, they would know that they will refer, and out of the referrals, at least more than one customer will come on board. So if you make the math, that makes it exponential, and that would help them to get a massive growth. In Dropbox, it was share it with your friends and get 100 gigabytes for free for life, or something like that. With Uber, it was get $30 for every new referral that starts working with us, and your friend will get $30 as well. I guess that most of you are familiar with Marketo, with the email automation system. And in my eyes, they're the first ones to start using content as a channel of growth. And that would help them to become the thought leaders that they are today without spending lots of resources. And just a quick example before I get into more details of things that worked for us. We tried this approach, and we ran different type of content to see what get us the highest ranking on Google, and what also drives the highest amount of leads. So we found two things that really worked well for us. The first one was 50, 60, whatever marketing tools or resources that you can use. And what we saw, that first people like to share this type of content, and also Google liked to rank it very high. The other thing that worked also very well for us is making sort of a comparison between our solution and any of our competitors. So if you think about it, whoever searches for our competitor could get to our pages in a way that we compare the things, obviously, as transparent as possible, but still we can control this data, and it also helps us to get a lot of traffic. Before going into some actual data about experiments that we've ran, I'd like to repeat actually what Udi told you before I came on stage, that whatever I share with you and worked for us, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you. So whatever you're running, always be sure to test. The first one is all about messaging. And if you think about it, that two messages are pretty much alike. One says, I don't know if you can read it, increase conversion rate by 30% with website personalization, and then a button, click here. And the other one says, want to learn how businesses in Tel Aviv, obviously reflects your actual location, increase conversions by 30%. And that was the small change between these two messages. That one got 67% more clicks, okay? And that's amazing. And obviously, I wasn't the first one to think about this great idea. I just heard it from someone else, and it also worked very well for us. Another tactic that is very important is simply capturing the most value out of your traffic. This type of pop-up or model, or whatever you call it, appears only when people are about to exit our landing pages, homepage, or whatever page that is important for me. And we found that that tactic, although some of you might see it as annoying or anything like that, helped us to increase the amount of leads that we got in 45%. And obviously, we ran this test with a control group. So half of the traffic that will land on these pages would receive the regular landing page with a regular form. And the other half, got this message appeared only when they're about to leave the page. And that helps people to take another second to make another thought and decide whether or not to give us their email address, as well as it helps you to focus your message on the main value that you're going to offer them. Then another idea that we've run very successfully was simply, and it's something very from the recent weeks, I wrote an ebook about the e-commerce opportunities during the holiday season that will start very shortly with Black Friday and then Cyber Monday, obviously Christmas and all of the rest. And then I thought, okay, the ebook that I created got me 36% conversion rate from people arriving to the landing page to people that actually convert. And then I thought, okay, what if I'll offer a different type of content, not an ebook, a webinar, for example, that I didn't even have to practice or prepare because I already gathered all the information and made all of my points. And apparently, people that got to the webinar landing page converted in 56%. And that amazed me because I thought, okay, same topic, ebook is immediate gratification versus a webinar that they'll need to attend, spend half an hour in the next 2 weeks. But it worked very well. This is one of the experiments that I actually like the most. We were trying to make some PPC campaign on Facebook. And when I just got started with it, I started with the old-fashioned type of campaigns. Are you a marketing expert with an image of smart marketeers looking at their computers? Increase website conversion by growing each whatever, etc. It didn't work. I spent hundreds of dollars on impressions, by the way, and got only little amount of clicks and obviously little amount of people that actually converted to start a demo with us. And then I sat with my team and I thought, okay, guys, this is our budget and we want these clicks. What can we do? At that time, all the zombies concept, although I know that this is not a zombie, some of the geek people in our company made sure that I'll know that I was mistaken here, but it was very popular at that time. And then we came up with the following ad. It's not the zombies. Other things make your site's visitor run away. Fix it today. That got us, for the same price, 700% more clicks. Okay? The next thing is something that we call engineering as marketing. We simply built a tool that is very useful for our type of audience, which is the A/B test significance calculator. And what we found out that we could drive traffic to this page using SEO tactics and referrals, etc. But 27% of the conversion significance calculator will land on our homepage. This one is an experiment that I also like very much. This is not ours, by the way. This is someone that I was approached by. But people tend to think that today sending emails or approaching cold calls or cold emails on LinkedIn is not that efficient. And you're right, because if you're trying one by one and you're spending all day long sending messages, LinkedIn messages or emails, you won't see any positive ROI on that. But what if you could do it on scale? Okay? So I was approached by this guy, Ivan Abis, that wrote to me, thanks for connecting, and I hope you're well. I'm currently blah, 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 blah. And whatever he wrote, he made me answer him. And then I thought, okay, this guy has something to teach me, and we simply tried similar approach on scale, and I'll talk about a few ideas on how to do it on scale in a few minutes. And it really worked well for us, and we're still using this methodology up to this date. Now be careful whatever you're trying, because I also got approached by Chase Lee, who wrote to me, you're very handsome, welcome you visit China someday, welcome you visit my blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that's not a good strategy. So when I talked about scalable ways, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be technology. One thing that we've done is hiring people on Upwork, where you can pay a few dollars per hour and get as many employees as you need without the hassle. So if you think about it, you connect this to a strict procedures on who do you want to approach based on databases or on your Salesforce, and let this workforce do it for you, you could get great results using traditional ways. Before we wrap it up, and we have about 5 minutes left, I'd like to share with you the role of personalization in the growth hacking methodology. About 5 or 6 years ago, I think that most of you were exposed to the A/B testing ideas. I believe that most of you, or at least part of you, are using this for running email campaigns, maybe on the subject line, maybe on the call to action, or anything else in your email campaigns. But we found it very efficient not only to A/B test, but also to personalize the messages, which you probably do using their first name in the email. But that's only a small part of it. When you think about personalization, it's pretty much like A/B testing. But rather than getting your site or email better based on the lowest common denominator, personalization helps you to do just the same for each segment of your visitors. So for example, you could target people based on over 40 different dimensions, all the way from the type of visitor on your site, whether it's a first-time visitor versus returning one. The time spent on site, their exact location, like the example with a bar that I've shared with you. Which page they landed on, whether they're about to leave the site or not. And then you could try different type of messages, layouts, either on your site or with additional overlays to make it better per segment of visitors. And here you could see our homepage with different H1, with different main messages. Web personalization made easy, for example, for smaller organizations, as people that are more limited with resources and have less resources to spend on their IT for integration and changing your site, etc. Then we have increased conversion rates by 30% and also growth guaranteed for different segments that we found these most efficient. Before we get into the tools, and I'll have to run through this very quickly, I want to mention that personalized messages doesn't necessarily mean that it's only the location or anything obvious. Those 6 principles of persuasion by Professor Robert Cialdini simply shifted the way that I think about the messages that we draft. Is any of you familiar with these concepts? One? All right, so I encourage, very good for you, and I encourage all of you to take 10 minutes to watch his video on YouTube after the end of the day today. So Robert Cialdini found that there are only 6 principles of influence that works very well worldwide across cultures. The first one is reciprocity. And this example is one of my favorites. Imagine yourself entering an ice cream shop, asking from the salesperson to get some flavors to test. And then what's the likelihood that you leave this shop without buying anything? Close to 0. And that's also applicable on your site. So in e-commerce, for example, that could be offering 5% off coupon. Get 5% off coupon. Obviously, there's also a motivation to purchase because you got a discount, but it also would appeal to the reciprocity because you got something small, and now you feel obligated to do something in return. The second principle that I think 2 lectures before me someone mentioned is the social proof. No matter if you're using many other people that are doing the same, or a friend, or whatever makes sense, that would increase the likelihood that you'll take action because it's already proven. The next one is commitment and consistency. And I'll skip these, just mention them. Then liking, you're more likely to do business with people or companies that you like, rather people that you dislike. It makes sense. And the last one is authority. The fact that I'm standing on this stage today, meaning that you're more likely to listen to anything that I've said, even if I said some nonsense. Just because the fact that I'm on this screen using this microphone and talking like I know something about something. The last one is scarcity. You're more likely to take action when things are rare or when they're pulling sense of urgency on you. For example, we have only 3 items left, okay? Or the first one, or the first 10s to purchase tickets to this show will get 20% off. And just to wrap it up, be careful because these principles are very efficient and make sure not to misuse them. I've left 20 seconds left, sorry. But I'd like to go over a few tools very quickly because I think that the essence of growth hacking is also the ability to run iterations quickly, low budget, and without any resources. Unbounce is a great tool to build landing pages. Kissmetrics and Google Analytics are for measurement. Commerce Sciences is for personalization. Qualaroo is for surveys, which would help you to get some great insights about what your visitors are doing or not. Zapier, one of my favorites, would help you to connect all of these and many other SaaS solutions in a way so that you could define if something happened here, what should happen in another service that is not connected. A Reportive will help you to get insights about leads based on their email address. So whenever you get an email from a new prospect or sending something out, you could simply know their LinkedIn profile, which company they're working for, etc. Similar tech, for those of you who are working with online customers, for example, that would help you to better prospect your customers because it will give you lots of insights about these sites. For example, which technologies they use. So you could either draft a list of all of your competitors' customers, so you could approach them directly, or any other combinations that would make sense for you to target as your own customers. It also would allow you to get actual leads out of these lists, and it's a very good tool. So, before I'll thank you, and we'll invite Udi back to the stage, do you know what's the difference between illegal hacker and a growth hacker? Both of them will very quickly help you, basically will get money out of your pockets, but the latter actually means to execute whatever he promised. Thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed.
תודה רבה לעומרי יעקובוביץ'.